What's going on, folks? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the acoustic debut mixtape of the country singer Sam Hunt. Now, this came out in October 2013, but it later was re-released. I don't know if it saw like a marketable release in 2015, but they said they re-released it in late 2015, and that was after his debut studio album Montevallo from 2014. But basically, this guy's a country singer. Where I remember him from is he had like this kind of catchy earworm song that lasted for a good while throughout the late 2010s called Body Like a Back Road. And I kind of found that song odd just because it was a hit song, but I couldn't really distribute like the genre to it. I mean, it was kind of a country song, but to hear it on like pop radio and that type stuff, it was just one of the more kind of standout country songs of like the past 5 years that just could actually be heard on like, and I heard it on rhythmic radio. So where I heard it, it was not just like pop radio where you'd hear Adele or Katy Perry or something. It was like with hearing folks like Big Sean and like Fetty Wap and like The Weeknd and some of those type people. So to hear Sam Hunt on there was kind of interesting. But I was curious just because I wondered what happened to the guy because he had that hit song. But it really, he put out that album with Body Like a Back Road in 2020. And it took a while, and then he hasn't really done anything since. I mean, he's put out some singles and that type of stuff. But it's interesting just because I like the vibe of Body Like a Back Road, so I wanted to see more about it. But then I also had something that was kind of going on where I wanted to make a kind of spare vlog talking about how there should be country music mixtapes. I think it'd be a really clever idea if like Jason Aldean or people like that would do like country mixtapes, and Sam Hunt did one. I said, well, fuck yeah, I'm definitely going to review this. So I did, and this is the sad thing about that. And it's interesting. I mean, this is a free project. Between the Pines is a free project that you can download. I haven't quite downloaded it yet, but I have listened to it on Spotify, and I'm gonna download it and listen to it a lot more and put it on my MP3 player and stuff. And that's kind of the situation. And but it's interesting just to kind of get a country mixtape, just because for the most part, rock music doesn't really do like mixtapes very often. I mean, Ronnie Radke has at least tried it, but it's just not something that happens frequently. So even further to get a country mixtape, I was kind of like, what the heck? This is interesting. So upon talking about that, I would have to say that there is some good stuff on here, but you have to keep in mind that like most bodies of work and projects, it does have like some kind of more packaging towards it, because this was like Sam Hunt's layout as far as being like an up and coming country singer and a songwriter. That's kind of the concept. So there were some singles on here, but it's not anything I'm gonna talk about in depth, just because none of them really were exclusively to this project. Like there's singles like Leave the Night On, Raised on It, and Come Over, but all of those can be found on his year later album Montevallo. So I just figure when I eventually review that, I'll just cover them on there. But there was quite a bit of highlights, and there's some acoustic stuff, a little bit more backdrop about this guy. He lived in Nashville. He wrote like a song for, I want to say, Kenny Chesney, something like that. Hang on. Yeah, he started getting his break in like 2012. He co-wrote a country song for Kenny Chesney, and he got some songwriting credits to his name, and that resulted in this project. And he quickly got signed to a label afterwards. So yeah, there's a number of hits on here. I definitely kind of feel like this has some solid stuff. I do feel like for a mixtape, and really if you play guitar and that type of stuff, it's got to be simple enough to kind of come up with some free instrumentals that you can use as far as like a breakout. I mean, it's been a reason why I haven't reviewed country before, is because it's difficult to find like production that I truly am enthralled by, because I'm such a beat head and that type stuff. So I really like it's especially something I look for is like, even in country music, I'm the same way, where I want some instrumental where the twang or the relative kind of chords of like the acoustic guitar or what's being played has to have something that is like hypnotic, kind of like Clocks by what's that group? Coldplay. I mean, just that was an initial Coldplay song that I really got into before I got into them, just because of how addictive that beat was. And there's another one that was similar to that, like Speed of Sound. That's kind of what I was hoping for with country, but Sam Hunt delivers. There are some hits on here. Like out of 15, I'll go ahead and list the 7 songs out of 15 I recommend to you, and then we'll dissect them a little bit more. So the 7 songs I recommend to you the 7 songs I recommend to you would be Saturday Night, House Party, Leave the Night On, Ecstasy, X2C, not ecstasy, but X2C, Raised on It, Bottle It Up, and Vacation. So to talk about some of these, probably one of the best songs I felt on this project was Vacation. That it was just really like a slinky kind of smooth operator kind of song. Pretty well established as like a vacation song, but I definitely felt like the chorus on this song was probably one of the best on here. It just was effortless how good that one was. And I feel like Saturday Night and Raised on It were some getting ready to have a party started type vibes. I mean, Raised on It was kind of more of like a summery evening, afternoon type feel, 5 o'clock, 6:30 type PM. But I feel like songs like House Party, Saturday Night, and Leave the Night On all kind of had like a nice weekend, kind of in like a dusty kind of sense, like a dusty kind of rambunctious, but then kind of little bit kind of devilish kind of way. I just feel like they kind of had that kind of vibe about them as far as, I mean, they're mellow. They're not like full blown like Metallica kind of craziness and like Pantera and Mudvayne kind of craziness. But for country, it's pretty good to kind of have some of those songs as far as just like an easy going, especially for free music to be able to say, Saturday Night, House Party, and Leave the Night On kind of have like a nice vibe of for getting ready to have that kind of party essentials. They just work extremely well. And there are some romantic songs on here, some more than others. Like I do feel like Ecstasy, Cop Car, I Met a Girl, Make You Miss Me, and Vandalizer all kind of do that, but some of them are kind of to mixed results. Like I do like Ecstasy, that was a clever one. Cop Car I would have liked, but it's kind of like the topic. I'm not so sure I agree with the concept of how it went. It's just basically like getting arrested and winding up in the back of a cop car and falling for the chick that you wind up getting arrested with. That's kind of the situation. Is a good topic. Maybe I'll grow to like that one, but I just kind of feel like maybe that's not the most ideal of a sentiment for a song such as that, but it can be wild enough. And like Vandalizer was kind of in a similar format to Cop Car, and so there just were certain ones, but there was another one I liked that was kind of more. Maybe it was Bottle It Up. I mean, Bottle It Up was a nice kind of stepping out, cruising in the car kind of party song. I like that one. It's kind of Friday night, but not so much. I mean, it's kind of having to deal with getting torn up, but not as much. As this, that one kind of felt like more of like a single and kind of more just got off of work type stuff, just cruising around, trying to find some shindig, that type stuff. So I just like some of those moments. I'm gonna go ahead and talk about these ones. So I talked about the party songs: Saturday Night, House Party, Leave the Night On, Ecstasy, and Ecstasy was kind of the flirty one that I liked. Raised on It was another kind of afternoon kind of party song. Bottle It Up was kind of more driving around kind of party song, and then Vacation was like an actual kind of smooth kind of vacation song. So it's just kind of, those are some moments. I mean, like I said, I'm new to country for the most part. I mean, I do own like a Florida Georgia Line album and a Taylor Swift album or two, but I kind of feel like, as far as how some of this kind of goes, it's interesting just to kind of see, especially from like a country mixtape, because I know that there's not a ton of these. Just to be able to say, when you talk about like a country mixtape and trying to find some of the vibes, just to be able to say, I do feel like, on a weekend and like the right setting, Saturday night, house party, Leave the Night On, Bottle It Up, and Raised on are all great songs for a shindig and ghost stories and camping and kind of like bonfires and that type stuff, those sorts of moments, hay rides, those sorts of kind of more autumn based and kind of cooler weather kind of plaid clothing kind of atmospheres. They're just fun, especially if you're near a bunch of back roads and hillsides and that type of stuff. So there's plenty of stuff that I would say to be able to go around and mess with as far as being able to do that. It's got some good moments, some romantic moments also, more than a few, even if I didn't match up with a bunch of them, and just overall good times. I'm gonna kind of scantily talk about some of the songs I didn't enjoy. Like I feel like there's some kind of hammy moments at the end with "Goodbye" and "Come Over," and I already talked about why I didn't enjoy "Cop Car" as much. And I mean, I like the concept of Vandalizer, but you know. And Speakers was just kind of like a more. I felt like that song probably should have been more up tempo, more so than like a slow jam. And it's the same thing with "Make You Miss Me." Some of these kind of more romantic numbers kind of take the slow jam and down tempo approach from more romance to kind of more up tempo. It's not quite as like stepping out and square dance, well, not square dancing, but just maybe square dancing, kind of more. It's not quite as stepping out and square dancing and country bars and that type of stuff vibe as like I might have thought. I definitely wanted more vibes like Ecstasy and possibly like Bottle It Up, but there's just not enough of those moments. And another one that was kind of a little bit like starry eyed more so than I was probably. I don't know. I mean, I like We Are Tonight was just kind of a hammier version of Bottle It Up. Like I really felt like the coolness factor and the kind of slick type vibes of Bottle It Up was nice, but We Are Tonight was kind of a weaker version of that, where it's just kind of a lot more like bubblegum and kind of a lot more like kind of goofily kind of happy in the way in that sort of sense. I didn't quite enjoy that one as much, but that's just kind of the concept. So me liking 7 out of 15, which is pretty solid, especially considering that this project is free. I'm going to go ahead and give this mixtape, this country mixtape, a 5.75 out of 10, which I definitely enjoyed this. And I do feel like it's worth downloading and finding some stuff, even if you don't know country that well, or if you do know country, I definitely think you'll probably find more on here that I enjoyed. But just to kind of say, it does have some stuff, and it's kind of, to me, I look at it like country mixtapes. If there's going to be more of these, I would definitely say that some of these could be like gateways to kind of indulging in more genres and that type of stuff. I would definitely like to see more country mixtapes, just in that sort of sense. Some up and coming country singers to see what they could do. Someone like Lil Nas X or some of those type people doing some country mixtapes and that type of stuff. Just to be interesting, kind of see that context. The social score, I guess I would just give like a 2.5 out of 10, because it does have like some good outgoing moments, but it doesn't have a single. I mean, it does. Raised on It is on here, but if you can get it on like the Montevallo album, it doesn't. I mean, this seems like that promotion is probably better, because that album showed up a year later, and there's a lot of. I think there's actually several songs on this mixtape that are also on like the album, and that's just kind of the concept. So I don't know. Eventually, I'm going to review that just to kind of see the difference, but that's the concept of what I paid attention to. But in terms of the future, like I said, it's been a while since Sam Hunt has kind of been around. Like it's been since 2020, and he's been working on something, but hopefully it gets coming out soon. I'd like another hit on the size of like Body Like a Back Road, or some gems off this project, something like that, but just in a charting format. It seems like he dried up too soon. I don't like the concept of his hit career and charting career being over this quickly. So it'd be interesting to see if he can do some more stuff. And yeah, so that's basically the concept there.